My second son, Josh, was 3 years old. He was diagnosed with diabetes. This is one of the darkest moments in my life. I remember going to the hospital and learning what we would have to do to take care of Josh. And then, after 5 days in the hospital, we brought him home. When we left the hospital, he thought he was better because they let us go home. And so when we showed up with all the shots and the needles and the things we would use to keep him healthy, he was not happy about that. And I can remember that first day setting him up on the counter. We had gotten home, it was just in time for lunch, and I poked his finger to see what number he was. And as I was getting out that stuff, he was so mad. He had learned in the hospital that if he put his thumbs in here and all his fingers right here, we wouldn't be able to get to his fingers. And so he had put his hands like that. And so testing him required physically getting on top of him and holding his hands down with your knees in order to pry his fingers open and get that blood out. And after I tested him, I realized he was going to need a shot, so I pulled out the needle, and as I got ready to give it to him, I'll never forget what he said. He said, "I hate you. I hate this. You don't do this to anyone else in our family. You only do this to me. Why would you ever think I wanted to do this?" And I can remember as I gave him that shot, he grabbed my cheeks and he pinched as hard as he could, and I didn't stop him because I figured I was hurting him. He had every right to hurt me back. And I can remember setting him down on the floor and him running up to his room and slamming the door and proceeding to destroy his entire room. He was so angry. He pulled all the covers off the bed and everything out of the closets and all the drawers out. And I sat down in the middle of the kitchen floor and I just sobbed. And I thought to myself, how would we ever get through? How do you explain to a 3-year-old that you're hurting him because you're trying to keep him healthy? And I thought to myself, this is not the mother I wanted to be. That was one of the darkest years of my life. If I were to describe that year to you in one word, the word I would choose was black. I couldn't remember what it was to laugh. I don't remember even feeling joy that whole year. I learned that the best time to cry was when everyone was asleep, because if they didn't see you crying in the daytime, they thought things were getting better. And I can remember laying on my pillow, just like Brad did, and I could feel the tears going down into that flannel pillowcase, and I thought to myself, how was I ever going to get out of this place? And I went through everyone that I knew, trying to think who could help me get out of that place, and at the end of an hour, there was no one I could think of. And I sat there. I've never felt so alone in my life as I did in that moment. And then I felt the Spirit whisper, "Heavenly Father knows." And I thought about that, and I thought, that is true. He does know. He knows where I've been, and He knows where I am now. And He's the one who will know how to help me get out of this place. And so even though He already knew everything, I started at the very beginning and I just poured out that whole year to Him. And when I was done, I can remember praying for the rest that is promised at the end of Matthew 11. And when I did, I felt the Spirit of the Lord enter into my little room in Draper, Utah. I felt the burden lift for just a minute, and I felt peace for the first time in a really long time. I can remember I didn't end the prayer that night. I just laid there and felt what it felt like to be lifted. And the next morning when I woke up, the burden wasn't gone, but it was lighter. When I look back at that time, this is what I know. What got me through those dark days was knowing that the night would come, and with it, the opportunity I would have to pray and to feel the Spirit of the Lord strengthen me and carry me through those hard times. The Lord met me where I was, as I was, but He didn't leave me there. And I think as I look back on that, because of what I experienced through grace, in that moment, it's helped me to better understand what I believe about grace now. I believe that grace is His strength made perfect in our weakness. I believe that it doesn't matter where you are right now. You already qualify for His grace. I believe the Lord will meet you where you are, as you are, but He doesn't intend to leave you there.